Can sports tourism be a significant contributor to African economies? Let's explore how to boost Africa's potential. Sports tourism is one of the fastest growing industries worldwide. Africa, with its rich culture, world-class athletes, iconic stadiums, and breathtaking destinations, has the potential to become a global hub. But how can we transform a passion for sports into sustainable economic growth? Our experts discuss this. Let's delve into the economic benefits sports tourism can bring to Africa. Sports events act as powerful magnets, attracting international visitors and showcasing the continent's vibrant spirit. These events significantly boost local businesses, from hospitality to transportation, creating jobs and stimulating economies. What steps are needed to promote sports tourism effectively? Necessary policies and targeted investments are crucial to build the infrastructure and regulatory frameworks required. Innovation in areas like sustainable tourism and digital engagement will further enhance the sector's appeal. Driving growth requires a collaborative effort from various stakeholders. Governments play a vital role in creating a conducive environment through policy support, infrastructure development, and international partnerships. The private sector's investment, marketing expertise, and efficient event management are essential for successful sports tourism ventures. Engaging local communities ensures that the benefits of sports tourism are shared, promoting cultural preservation and authentic hospitality. In conclusion, sports tourism holds immense potential for Africa. By harnessing the power of sports, Africa can achieve sustainable growth and foster innovation across various sectors. This week, watch as authors across Africa deliberate on this issue and provide solutions. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on more debates that highlight Africa's path to sustainable growth and innovation.
Let's get into today's debate. So the topic, let me switch on my camera. No, guys, I am so camera shy. So yeah, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Just wanted to let you guys know on that. Okay, so for this week's debate topic is, can sports tourism be a significant contributor to African economies? And if so, what steps can be taken to promote it? I repeat, can sports tourism be a significant contributor to African economies? And if so, what steps can be taken to promote it? So a little summary about this topic. It's just about how a country hosts, let's say hosts soccer, and with soccer, it brings in not only and like a national event, soccer. So it will bring in a lot of countries, not only in Africa, but also the rest of the world, France, England, Portugal, Argentina, all those countries are here for this soccer sporting event, right? Now, with all of these people coming in, now there's this thing of now we need to accommodate them. Now we need to make them feel welcome in our country. You see, like now, besides the sporting event, they can also tour our country. Like maybe there's safaris, go to the waterfall, go to caves, go to this, go to that. So with the many people here, we need to keep them entertained. Like the country needs to keep them entertained, not only with this sporting event, but with also other things that make the country the way that it is. So with regards to that, does sport really affect tourism in a big or small or normal way? Does it do anything, you see, to boost maybe the economy, development in communities, etc.? Like it can go either way with this. But again, in general, just tourism. Can it boost tourism of a country? And if it can, what could be the steps to promote it here in this country? Let's say Red is a country. For the purpose of this debate, let's say Red is a country. So that is a summary about this topic. So please answer with a yes or a no, and why you say yes or no. Okay, so we have a hand raised. Halate, yes, you can speak.
Hi. Yes, my name is Khala Temasikera. I am from the Botswana chapter, and oh yeah, you said yeah. I hope. Okay, yeah. I think it. I go with yes. I think that sports tourism can boost the economy of a country. If we take Red as our country, I would like to point out that Red in 2010 hosted the Soccer World Cup, for example. And there was a lot of revenue that came with that because we had lots and lots of different people from many, many different continents. Well, all the continents basically, because we were hosting a FIFA World Cup as Red. I hope that's fine. I really want to say the name of the country, but yeah, for the purpose of this, I will stick to that. Also, I would also like to say that it benefited my country in being Botswana, because a lot of these people, they took it as an opportunity to visit Africa, see all the neighboring countries, and Botswana, as it is known as a tourism country. So it was a great opportunity for them to actually travel to Botswana because they were very close to Botswana. There was a boom in the economy of Botswana, even though it was not the country that was hosting the World Cup. So not only does it serve the country that is hosting, it also serves the countries that are close to the country that's hosting. Hospitality wise, cultural wise, there's a lot of, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people learning different languages and all of that. So in how do we promote it so that it can boost the economy some more? There's where I stay, there is a bicycle or cycling what is competition or something like that. I don't know what it's called, but I do know that the roads are closed for that week, and then for that weekend, and then a lot of people from different countries come through. During that week, there's a lot of T-shirts that are branded. There's a lot of activities that are happening. The music scene booms because then the people are offered like a show afterwards in one of the big parks. There's so much that happens during that time. So how can then we use this sports tourism to boost the economy? I think we should package it as a package deal. When you're going to watch the game, then after that you can go on a safari. Then afterwards you can sleep at this hotel. You can, just like what travel agencies do, instead of the people actually looking around for accommodation for themselves and activities and whatnot, how about then governments actually package this, or companies or startups, they package this into like a sports travel thing. I don't know what they call them, but yeah, something similar. Where on this particular day I'm watching the game, on the following day I'm going to visit the museum, then the next day we're watching another game, just like that. So if it can be packaged into something like that, and also include the locals into it, then I see it as something that can really boost the economy of our African countries. Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. Interesting perspective there. Yeah, I get your reference from South Africa. I get that. So yeah, it's kind of like that, you know. People from all over the world came by, and then there was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of people, companies that wanted to say, hey, let me help out with the people, like maybe I can sell this, I can sell that. So yeah, in a way, yeah, good points made. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts? Mawa, I see you have, would you like to try?
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Okay, anyone else would like to share their thoughts, maybe from the no perspective? If you are too shy to speak, then you can also drop it here in the chat box, and then you can also just view your thoughts there. So yeah. Anyone? Please, guys, like, this is an interactive thing where we can talk to each other, and there's no right or wrong here. It's just we're just sharing views and perspectives.
Hello,
Hello?
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Here is Edward from Republic of Rwanda, and I would like to say that if sports used well, it can boost the economic of any country and of Africa in general. Okay, so taking to our country as an example, to choose sports as to boost the economic, it requires the leaders who have vision and determination before they can tap into the sports, but also to invest into younger generation can also help us the sports to be developed in a way that can boost the economics not only for the present but also the future. Also, investing so much energy into building out infrastructures can also help us to boost the talent of young generation, also for the sake of developing their talent as well as meeting out the economic developments. Or in Africa, we also have all it takes to boost our economics, particularly in terms of sport development. You can also look out how our fellow Africans are doing much better in European countries, particularly in football, basket. So to conclude, I can say that if country has leaders with vision and determination, they can use sports to boost the economics, not only of their countries, but also of their Africa in general. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Edward. Yeah, definitely. You sounded out of breath there. So, but yeah, we got the most of that. Thank you, Edward, for your points. Yeah. Khalate, yes, you can speak, and then after Khalate is Mawa.
Thank you once again. I just wanted to add real quick about how we can help promote this sports tourism. If we could find, I'm an avid Arsenal fan, though I shouldn't say it out loud because the people I stay with don't like Arsenal. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at their jerseys, they have Visit Rwanda on their t-shirts, on their jerseys. That on its own has prompted me to actually check out what that is all about. Then I saw that sometime back, I saw that it was actually a collaboration between the government of Rwanda and Arsenal and PSG apparently. So there's that sponsorship to Arsenal and PSG. They brand the football jerseys with the Visit Rwanda to directly invite people to come to Rwanda or to go to Rwanda and see the wonders that Rwanda has to offer. So that is using sports to actually boost their economy as well. I just wanted also to add that what we could do as African countries is basically to simplify the processes that allow for countries to work together in terms of, like, if say Botswana wants to collaborate with Egypt or South Africa, let's make the processes easier for different companies to work together across the border so that we can have like inter-regional, or I don't know what the word is. Yeah, but sporting activities that allow for such. They don't necessarily have to be the big ones like the Comrades Marathon. It just has to start small. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I saw that from Arsenal. Yes, like they have that Visit Rwanda thing. That could also be a way of saying like exactly how you described it. So that's another step into bringing tourism into the country. So just ask a team, a sports team, to just say visit this country, and then you'll see like a lot of bars, little by little, people from us outside the country now visiting your country. So yeah, that can be a way. Thank you, Halate. Mawa, yes, you can speak.
Yeah, thank you. So, in order to have a better understanding of this case, I think we should take a look at two case studies. One of them is in Qatar and the other one in South Africa. So, I don't know if you remember that Qatar was responsible for organizing the FIFA World Cup in 2022. So, if you take a look at the numbers of how the economy improved based on this event, you're going to find out that it boosted the economy so much. So if we're talking about the near-term contributions to Qatar's 2022 GDP, it increased to 0.7 to 1 percent, estimated based on, of course, on tourism and broadcasting revenue. If you're talking about the growth of the non-hydrocarbon sector, from 2011 to 2022, you're going to find that increase to up to 5 to 6% points. If you're talking about the tourism, international visitors, you're going to find out that they increased. Like there was like 315% increase compared to 2021. So you can, yeah, like based on these numbers, you can find out like, there is a boost in the economic situation, a boost in tourism, like increase in numbers of tourists, as we said before, even the infrastructure investment, either we're talking about the short term or the long term investment. Also diversification, like the World Cup accelerated Qatar's existing strategy to diversify its economy beyond hydrocarbon sources. So the question is, does it work the same way all the time? Actually, no, because if we're talking about the other experience of South Africa, like South Africa was responsible for organizing the FIFA World Cup in 2010. So if you're talking about, for example, job creation, it led to the increase in the number of jobs available, specifically when it comes to build up and other, infrastructure sectors jobs. Also, significant increase in the construction jobs. If you're talking about tourism and awareness, of course, it raised global awareness of South Africa and the beautiful nature of South Africa. But on the other hand, if we're talking about the two experiences, and this is the interesting part here, if you're talking about South Africa here, there was a downside of the experiment, which is the overspending and debt. Like, spending a lot of money on doing this did not have the same revenue. Like when you spend a lot of money, there is no problem with that, as long as you're going to be aware that you're going to regain the same amount of money back. But this did not happen. So this led to overspending and debt. If we're talking about stadium losses, like many of the new stadiums have struggled to cover their operating costs. Of course, this costs a lot of money. So this leads to ongoing financial burdens over, the country. Um, Meanwhile, if you're talking about Qatar's experiment, like how they invested in their, history, they're invested in their facilities and everything. Like before they started the championships, they asked the public to share in organizing this event based on their experiences. Like, if you have any experience in broadcasting, in maybe building or managing such events, you could have share in that. Even if the payment was not that much, but lots of people showed interest in that. I don't know, maybe this led to some kind of increase in interest in Qatar as a country. I don't know also if you've watched these videos connected to dates, like, how Europeans and Western people discovered about, this kind of new facility available in the bathrooms. It was a little bit fun, but meanwhile, it somehow marketed the culture. Now, what are the lessons that can be learned from the two experiences or from the two cases? If we're talking about South Africa, of course, the beauty and the culture and, of course, the deep history of the country played a great role, in making it this, really visible to the whole world. I think you remember the famous song of, Shakira. Like, she made a song specifically for Africa, including some local, words taken from the local language. So this made it, a little bit, charming when it comes to the atmosphere. On the other hand, Qatar did not do the same, but on the other hand, they invested in their ability to, manage this financially. If we can blend the two experiences in order to learn the lessons and make sure that we're going to have, some kind of revenues on the long term, like, how to attract more investors, like if we're talking about the long-term investment. It's not only about the short term. So how can we make the best use out of this experience to continue for many years, even after the end of the event, which Qatar could do? Here, I think the missing link can be represented in AI, like, using artificial intelligence in order to make it, a little bit, attractive to more people in order to invest in that. Like, it can happen in two ways, either to, innovate some kind of facilities based on, technology in order to attract more people. And on the other hand, to have it, represented in a culture atmosphere, like to make it attractive when it comes to culture. And here, every country can have its own identity, its own character represented in the culture itself. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mawa. Yeah, I guess that's a downside, eh? Like we develop all of these things for the sporting event, and then years or maybe months to years later, like where's the fruits of that? You see, it also happens with the Olympics. I think Paris also had this thing of they spent a lot of money, and then now some of the facilities are not being used. So I think that's a bit of a downfall, because now, even though it brought people in, now people are not using it. Even the locals are not using it. So yeah, that's a bit of a downside to that. So yeah, but thank you, Mawa, for your points. Let's go to Peter, and then after Peter, Haulate. Oh, and please, I encourage you guys to switch on your cameras. I am very shy, so yeah, it's not compulsory. I just want to let you guys know that. Peter, yes.
Hi, Sphere. Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I can't switch off on my camera where I am. I'm in tag, so I exited here to be back.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right, that's fine. So I think I'm coming from the no perspective, and I think one thing we should take into account first is our priorities. We have other agent priorities. Let's say, for example, our health systems, our education systems, and poverty. Our African economies face more agent priorities rather than promoting sports tourism. Here we face poverty, we have healthcare issues, we have food insecurity, we have education, and more. These are agent priorities. They are agent priorities. They have to be solved now. And investing heavily in sports tourism can divert limited resources from essential services. It's difficult to build stadiums when clinics and schools are still mad. And the second point we have to take into account here is the economic leakage. Much of the money from these big events or partnerships, for example, from foreign sponsors, from teams, from advertisers, it often leaves our continent, and our local communities may see little benefit from massive sports events. For example, our profits from major football sponsorship really trickle down to grassroots sports or communities. Thereby, this one will promote. We will still promote inequality between the urban and the rural divide. So those are my points from the North perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Yeah, we want to weigh both perspectives here, and you have definitely kind of weighed the no perspective. So thank you on that. Yes. So for some countries, it may seem like no, sports is not really, it's important, but not really important. We have other priorities like health, education, poverty, unemployment, etc., etc., etc. So why must the sports tourism be, how should I say it? What's this thing? We have more attention than these other ones, you see. So in a way, it's like now we are putting into spotlight the sports, but then what about these serious issues, you see? So yeah, that's another way to look at it from the no perspective. So thank you, Peter. Khalate, yes, you can speak, and then after that is Mawa. After you is Mawa.
Okay, thank you so much once again. I want to completely agree with the last speaker about how funds that are used for these big sporting events usually funds that could be used for other very important things like health and building of schools and all of that. I agree with you completely. So I want to just offer a quick solution to that. Of course, I do understand that, yeah, spending billions and billions building and upgrading stadiums and stuff and roads and all of some of these things are very important for countries. For example, if we're going to be building a road that leads to a certain stadium, we have actually improved the infrastructure of that country somehow. Though afterwards, then we have these big unutilized stadiums and stuff. So maybe perhaps we could try and take the model that China uses. So China, as usual, they are trendsetters and very innovative people. They build stadiums and sports facilities that can be dismantled or that can be relocated and repurposed after the event. So this approach of theirs is part of their way of avoiding unutilized infrastructure after such big events happen. For example, in the Winter Olympics of Beijing 2022, they designed temporary or modular structures that were used for different sporting events. They were also, what they did is they wouldn't build like a big stadium for football or ice skating alone. They would include rugby and many other different sports within the same building, such that in that case, it doesn't stay unutilized. For example, they say that they built 1 out of 5 in every, whatever the whole, they only built 1 out of 5 permanent structures. So within that one structure that they built as permanent, they made sure that it was a multi-type of use stadium, such that we don't just wait for football to happen or a mega event to happen. We have different things happening at different seasons or different times within the year. So if a stadium could be something that can be utilized for different sporting events, then the better. But also far much better would be to actually make or build a stadium that we can take apart when we are done and repurpose and refurbish the materials that were used for something else yeah, I don't know if you get my drift, but basically, if you want to avoid such, we don't want downsides to this sporting tourism. We want to make sure that it stays sustainable. So in order for us to actually prevent such downsides, perhaps we must take China as our example. They are a game changer in the innovative stuff. They can build a road within 1 day, and we must really look into how they do it and how they are able to sustain such things. So we must, as African countries, look into that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Khalat. Yeah, I agree with you on that point that like these facilities, it can be reused, like reused. Yeah, I get you on that. So like I think it was in Qatar where the stadium was made out of containers. Then when the World Cup was over, they took it down and just now land. So it can be something like that. And it can be like a stadium that's more normally for soccer. It can also be used for athletics. And then concerts, festivals, etc., etc. So, yeah, that can be a good solution for that. And then also by doing that, it will create jobs and create development. You see, it's not only doom and gloom. It's also something that, oh, we can reuse this facility. You see, so yeah. Thank you, Khalat. Mawa, yes, you can speak. Hello, Mawa.
Yeah. Actually, I disagree. Because you know what? It doesn't make any sense. Like, since something didn't work, we have to give up the whole idea. Like, things, don't go that way. Like, if you have a problem with something, maybe we can work on the problem and then we find out a solution in order to get it done right. Like, here, if we're talking about the numbers, like, as I mentioned previously, there are numbers referring to some kind of improvement. Even if you're talking about, the experiment in Qatar or South Africa, or even other countries that were responsible for organizing some kind of, international events, we have to find a solution to these problems, not to give up the whole idea altogether. Like, for example, if you're talking about, this as being beneficial only to tourists, but actually this is not true. If you're talking about, tourists as people moving around the country, so they're going to use different roads, they're going to go to different places, they're going to reserve rooms in different hotels, so they're going to visit different places. Now the point is, how can we make the best use out of the infrastructure in order to be beneficial for both tourists and citizens, right? So here we have to think about a plan that can make it like a win-win situation. Like, everybody's going to be, happy out of this experience. But to avoid it altogether, this is not making any sense. Like, here, if we're talking about, for example, in Qatar, the economy expanded by 4.8% in 2022. Can you imagine that? Like, if this is going to happen in only 1 year, compared to numbers in 2015, which was like 6.8%. So this does not happen every day. Like, this is great achievement. So to give it up in order to, just avoid the whole case and say, like, there is a drawback here or there is a backlash, in my opinion, this is not really beneficial. On the other side, maybe you're going to find that everything is ruined. Because imagine that you have an event maybe every 10 or 15 years. So there is a chance to make some improvements every 10 and 15 years. But if you're not going to spend money at all and you live on the hope that maybe this money is going to be used only for improving the infrastructure for citizens, this is not really, motivating to lots of countries. Like, when you have guests and people coming from different countries, this is motivational in order to, make things work better. But if you don't have something like that at all, what's the alternative? Like, if you want to attract lots of tourists, why would they go there? So you're going to find yourself doing double the work in order to attract more people to come to your country, when simply you can win, the owner of organizing such events and attract more people easily, and meanwhile lead to increase in the economy. Now the question is, how can you make it long-term investment? And that is what Qatar did. Like, how to use the media, how to use all the assets that you have in order to have this long-term. By the way, even if you're talking about the stadiums as being, the reason for spending lots of money, think about a way to use these stadiums for other kind of scientific projects. For example, like, if you have this space, how can you use this space in order to make it more productive outside this? Like, for example, if you have to work on solar panel projects, for example, and you need space like that, why can't you use it? Like, we're talking about a Qatar as being in the Gulf, or being a part of Gulf countries, it has lots of access to solar energy, so it can be used. So all over the whole year, it can be used for a specific purpose. And every now and then, if they have the chance to organize an event, why not? They can use also this space. So it can be, used many times for different purposes. If we're talking about the other side, which is Africa, Africa. Like now we have a main focus here in this discussion, African countries. How can African countries do that? If we're talking about, you know, having a federation, for example, an African federation that is specifically responsible for organizing such events without having one country responsible for the whole burden of expenses, like instead of, you know, having only South Africa being responsible for that, or any other African country, maybe this federation is going to fund it. Meanwhile, they're going to have some kind of benefit in one way or another, because of course they're not going to give this money in vain, or, you know, other countries are going to share, and in return they can have some kind of benefits from the country organizing the event. So this can be beneficial to all countries, and they're going to learn from each other, because you know what, you know, it's going to be a little bit naive to expect everything just happening just perfectly 100% perfect the first time. But, you know, every time you're going to have mistakes, and you're going to learn from these mistakes. So when another country is going to be responsible for that, it's going to be more powerful. And also, we shouldn't forget something. The competition in organizing such events is really hard. Like, remember, there is North America, there is South America, there is Europe. So we are competing to win such events against all these countries. Of course, they have facilities, and also they have their tourist attractions. So you have to think about that too. Like, ask yourself, what would they really want to do that? Like, can you imagine how many countries really wanted to win the honor of organizing the FIFA World Cup? Everybody wanted it, right? So they want it for a reason. Now the question is, what's going wrong with this experience in order to make it right? So here we can look at other, experiences and find what they did and learn from, their mistakes in order to make it work better. But forgetting it all together, this is like, like committing a suicide. Like, you give up everything and you say you shut down everything from the very beginning, which is not healthy for any economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mawa. Yes, very interesting points there. I think Peter raised his hand on your points, but yeah, good points made all around. Thank you, Mawa. Yes, Peter. Hello, Peter.
All right. Yes, you can hear me. Confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. So, adding on to my points on from the North perspective, in short, I'm just saying we should not prioritize sports tourism in especially in African countries. Adding on to my points, we have weak sports governance, and corruption is a major problem to our African continent. And many African sports bodies face corruption, mismanagement, and lack of transparency. And this discourages international investors and funds from trusting the system. For example, we have scandals in African football federations which have hindered development and tarnished the image of sports in Africa here. And then adding onto those points, we have limited global brand recognition. Most African sports leagues, outside of a few like South African rugby or Moroccan football, will lack global appeal or visibility. And without a strong international fan bases, sports events struggle to attract meaningful tourism. And the reality is, tourists travel for the Premier League, the Olympics, or the NBA, not regional African leagues. This is also something we should take into account. And also, there is a cost of hosting events. We should not look at the benefits only, we should also look at the cost of hosting those events. Hosting international sporting events is extremely expensive and risky. Many African nations don't have the economic muscle to risk huge investments with unclear returns. For example, we can give a reality example here. Countries like Brazil and Greece went into deep debt after hosting major games, and they have stronger economies. Then take that into account in African countries, which do not have that economic muscle that can handle this cost of hosting these events. We are talking of all the sporting events, not just maybe, let's say, for example, World Cup, that football World Cup. Of course they can sponsor for infrastructure, but not all events are sponsored for that country to build infrastructure. So we should also take into account that cost of hosting those events. And also we should take into account of our seasonal and weather limitations here in Africa. Africa's varied climate, Africa's varied climate can make sports tourism unreliable. For example, we experience rainy seasons, which can disrupt travel and games. We can make that we can make it hard to create all year round tourism. So thank you. Those are the points that I want to add on from the North perspective.
Okay, thank you, to comment on the seasons and weather thing. Remember, like this country will host an event based on, they obviously took into account the weather and season, but we all know that weather is unpredictable. There's nothing we can do about that. So they obviously took into account of the weather and the seasons. So I just want to, I just want to comment on that. And then as far as Greece and Brazil, yes, I saw that on I saw it on YouTube, where like they hosted the Olympics, but then it just was not wielding any good in it. Sure, it was good for that period, but then they're still in debt. Some of the facilities are not being used. It's now what's this thing, vandalized, and like it's not taken care of. So yeah, that's kind of a downside of hosting an event. And yeah, you're right, it's not only soccer, it's all events, all kinds of all kinds of sports events, not only soccer. So if this facility is not being used after that, then what was the point, or what was the point in hosting it? So when you want to host this particular sporting event, you must plan in a way that, okay, so after this, like what's going to happen before, okay, during, and then after this World Cup, I think let me call it like this World Cup. So like what am I going to do with this facility? Am I gonna take it apart after this, or it's going to be a center for youth development, or it's gonna be used as a athletics track, whatever. So I think we should take into account that. And then also you mentioned corruption, lack of transparency, etc., like that. Yeah, that's another downside to this, like where it affects tourism and the economy in general. So if we work on that and like remove these, like the corruption and lack of transparency, then it would be a success, not only for the sport in that country, but the whole country, you see. So yeah, that's just my point on that. Thank you, Peter. Okay, Khalate says, in response to you, I hope, please correct me if I'm wrong, in order to make money, money has to be spent. Yeah. In order to make money, money has to be spent, but also it has to be brought back. You know, we also want more returns from that money that was spent. So we should take into consideration on that. Thank you, Khalati, for your comment. Peter's hand was raised first, and then after Peter is Mawa. Hello, Peter? Okay, let's go to Mawa.
All right. Thank you, Superway. And I'm going to start from the last point that you mentioned. You were talking about, like how, the investment that's used in infrastructure improvement or maybe in building stadiums is going to be beneficial other than that. And actually, this is a part of sustainability and impact. Like, how can you make the investment that you are putting in any kind of infrastructure improvement really, really sustainable? And here's the point, like, how can you promote a variety of year-round sport activities and events to maintain consistent interest and activity beyond a single event? Like, maybe we're thinking about FIFA World Cup, maybe we're thinking about the Olympics, like these famous events. But what about other local events as well? Like there are different sports, by the way, I mean, other than football, that's really good. And we have lots of people interested in Africa, but they don't have the same attention that other popular sports have. So why not using them in order to spotlight on these sports? And maybe we can invite other partners to share, number one, in funding, and number two, in getting benefits out of that. Like if we are going to engage the local communities in order to invest in that, what's the problem with that? Like if you have small businesses or if you have entrepreneurs who are really interested in doing that, why not doing that? Maybe also you're going to have the opportunity to host major events, but even if you don't do that, you have this cycle going on all year round. So you don't have to wait like once in a while in order to get a chance for doing that. And if we're not, really sure about how to do this locally, why not marketing this to the world? Like if we're talking about, other Western or European, institutions that are really successful in planning or maybe, managing these events in one way or another, maybe we can have partnerships with them. And this is going to be beneficial on two levels. Number one, we're going to benefit from their experience. And number two, we're going to show them Africa. Like, let's ask this question. What do Europeans, maybe North Americans or South Americans know about Africa? And if they know about Africa, how many countries do they know about them? We have over 50 countries. So how many of them know really about, Africa? Maybe you're going to find just a few people really know about the culture there. So this is also a problem. How can we market this culture? How can we make this culture really beneficial in order to make sure that everyone know what Africa is? Because I'm 100% sure if they know really well about the diversity of the African culture and the richness of the African culture, they're going to be really interested in visiting as many African countries as they can every single year. And by the way, also if we're talking about, Europe, for example, it's going to be really cheaper than other destinations. It's going to be cheaper than going to other European countries. So how are we using marketing in order to do that? What about digital platforms? Are we present enough on these digital platforms? So maybe we can use this as a chance in order to make it possible for the world to see us. And also we're going to strengthen marketing efforts, like promote African sports, prowess and natural beauty by highlighting events. So if imagine that you're going to shoot a video talking about the stadium and how wide it is. Meanwhile, you can take a tour around the stadium and show the beautiful nature surrounding it. And, Africa has a lot of these beautiful sceneries. So why not doing that? So based on the previous events and, the previous experiences, this is not happening a lot. Maybe that's why we don't see, the long-term impact of that. Like we don't have this global vision of how it can really lead to great improvement because we did not put enough efforts here. And by the way, when we're saying efforts, it doesn't have to be all about money. Investing money. No, here we can talk about investing efforts. Like imagine that you're going to invite 1,000 influencers. How much money would you pay for something like that? I think it's going to be much less than any other expenses that you may spend anywhere else. But this is going to lead to some kind of great impact. So imagine them, shooting videos. And all of them, like imagine that you have 1,000 influencers and they shoot videos in different African countries, or maybe the target African country, if we're talking about a specific country that is going to organize a specific event. And all of them upload their videos at the same time on a specific day. Can you imagine how many millions around the whole world, if not billions, are going to be able to see this? How viral could it be? And this is just one step out of many steps that can be taken. So this is not a waste of money. This is not a waste of time. On the contrary, this is going to lead. And by the way, this is also about, having this kind of patience and resilience. Like even if you don't have this having, immediate impact, you have to make sure that it's going to be impactful maybe within 5 years, maybe within 10 years. And here comes, the role of, maybe town planners or maybe, people working in different governmental offices in order to have a global plan or a countrywide plan in order to make it really effective. For example, we have lots of experts in economy. They are the best people who can, really think about, putting all these efforts in one plan to boost the economy of all countries, let alone, working on a specific country if we're talking about this happening individually, organized by an African country, or if we're going to take it on a deeper level or on a higher level, if we're talking about all countries, all African countries together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mawa. Yeah, marketing can be a way to show yourself, show this country that, okay, we're hosting this sports event. But that's not only us, you see. Not only are we participating in this sports event, but there's more to us than us in this event. So, like, look at our caves, look at our waterfalls, etc., etc. And by that, we have content creators who would, like, even local, or not even content creators, just people in general, the public, because they're always on social media. We're always on social media. We're always showing our country, and our tourist attractions. So it could start there, with the marketing, with the little marketing, and then it will grow into something very big. So yeah, thank you, Mawa. Okay, let's go to the comments. So Peter says, true. I think this is for you, Mawa. Okay, Peter says, true, but only when it's spent wisely. Not all spending is investment. Good thing to consider with regards to that. Yeah, in a way, yeah. Thank you, Peter. Let's go to Howlat, and then we'll go back to you, Peter.
Thank you again. I've been listening, and I think that perhaps maybe a lot of the resistance comes from the fact that we are led by corrupt people. Like somebody said, Peter mentioned that there's a lot of corruption and a lot of these things should actually not be happening. So I was coming from the perspective of age. If you take a person like Dorcas, for example, to be the Minister of Sports, you would have somebody who's younger, who can embrace newer, more innovative models of doing things. You would have somebody who thinks beyond your traditional football as sport, who would explore adventure sports, for example, tech-driven sports, for example, and all of that could actually be something that in oldie, deep respect to the old people out there. I'm just thinking that if you take somebody young and somebody old, put them together, you'll see that ideas come. There's a lot of wisdom in the old people, but not a lot of brand new ideas that might help advance our mandate. The younger ones are more familiar with global best practices, for example, and are more comfortable using social media and digital platforms and stuff, like somebody was just saying right now, for marketing and data analytics and stuff like that. So if you put someone as young as me in that, you close that gap between the youth and the participants. People who are in sports these days they're younger people, and younger ministers would resonate better with athletes, with fans, and also with grassroots sports as well. So yeah, I think that honestly, sometimes we just need to flip the switch a little bit and give the opportunity to somebody who is as innovative as the whole project is. Yeah, and then of course that person should be surrounded by older, more experienced. Oh my gosh, guys, sorry, more experienced minds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Khalat. Yeah, in a way, yeah. Like, there needs to be a balance, you see. Like, we have the elderly people there, and then we have the young, because eventually the youth will just take over the ones who are there longer, I should say. So, like, there should be balance, But again, we need to bring in new perspective, fresh ideas, innovation. Because we cannot always be stuck in the old ways or the old times. It's 2025. We need to change. We need to adapt. We need to be new, you see. So yeah, and the youth can help with that. They can do that actually. So yeah, thank you, Khalate. Okay, we'll go to Peter and then we'll do concluding thoughts.
All right, thank you. So I would like to come, still coming from the no perspective, I would like to just answer you, Spear, when I mentioned of our weather and climate variability in Africa. So unlike Europe or the United States, right, which have well-defined sports calendars, which are tied to stable seasonal patterns, Africa's varying climates across regions make continent-wide planning difficult. Like, you can't align a Pan-African sports tourism strategy when some countries are in peak dry season while others are flooding. And also, we have to take into account of our type of infrastructure here. The most type of our infrastructure here, they are not built for weather extremes. Most African stadiums and venues are not weatherproof. For example, some of them there's no roofing. Some of them there's poor drainage, etc. So games get delayed or cancelled, which that will lead to disappointing our fans and tourists, taking that into account. And also, one thing we should also take into account is our complicated visa and travel challenges. Our intra-African travel remains expensive and complicated. And remember, let's say, for example, when South Africa hosted World Cup in 2010, not only South Africa was hosting it, like South Africa was hosting the actual event, but remember, Botswana also, like Golat was mentioning, Botswana had to benefit in tourism, like in hospitality and something like that. So not one country is only hosting and remember, take into account when a tourist is coming to South Africa, if he or she has booked a hotel in Botswana, he would have to apply for a visa to go to Botswana. And taking that into account of our visa and travel challenges, that will make those things worse. And those stories to
Oh, sorry, Peter, we lost you there. But I get your point with the weather. No, understood. Then yeah, the intra travel, like traveling between countries in the continent, that can also be a factor because some countries the borders are not that great. So I think that also needs to be worked on. And then if that works, then people can just be and enter the country freely, not freely, but obviously with the necessary documents. Then yeah. Okay. Thank you, Peter.
okay. Sorry, I just wanted to add something.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so in terms of tourism, we should take into account that our African tourism still largely depends on nature. Like, Africa's current tourism sector is still largely wildlife, cultural heritage, and nature based. So it's unrealistic to expect sports tourism to suddenly compete or overtake these well established sectors without massive change. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting perspective there. Now with sports, we don't want it to overtake anyone. Maybe just to compete with the existing things that make the tourism of the country. So I think that's also taken into consideration. So like sports, it must not overall overtake. It must just maybe kind of balance the thing, like kind of balance tourism, because anyway, everyone likes a bit of a competition, a bit of camaraderie, like a bit of competition here and there, which one's better, which one is not, so if sports it's also in that, then there's variety. So yeah, but yeah, good points made all around. Thank you. Okay, so now we are at the part of the debate where we do concluding thoughts. So maybe what is the way forward for sports tourism? What can be a step to promoting sports tourism in the country? And yeah, just your overall concluding thoughts. So please keep it short and straight to the point. So who would like to start us off? Okay, so I'll start us off. So for me, my concluding thoughts on this topic, I say yes. Sports can definitely be a contributor to African economies. Why? It will just bring people in to see the country as it is, and all of its like what makes this country the country that it is, you know. And with that comes money. We all know that money makes the world go round. So with that, with the more tourists in, they have this, and then it just builds into the development, not only economy, but also development in general. You know, jobs can be created, um, stuff, you know, a lot of things can be created when it comes to sports tourism. So if it's implemented in a way that is good and also long term, then it will shine, it will flourish, you see. So what steps can be taken to promote it? I think start small. Start with social media, because social media is a good tool for sports tourism. Maybe I'll take the Arsenal thing for example, or maybe just simple social media posts, you know. So like a sports team just takes pictures, does videos, like creates content that will appeal not only to the country but also globally. So if by doing that, then tourists can not tourists, people can see, people from outside the country can see this sport and say, oh, so there is something like this. Yeah, oh, let me go check it out. Let me go there and check it out. So that can be a way to promote sports tourism in in the country's economy. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, Peter, yes, your concluding thoughts. Please keep it short and straight to the point.
All right, thank you. So sports tourism certainly holds promise, and it's clear that with proper investment, infrastructure, and planning, it could contribute to African economies. And the yes side brings valid aspirations, envisioning a continent that hosts major events, attracts visitors, and boosts employment through sport-related industries. But however, we must also be realistic. Africa's current socio-economic priorities demand careful resource allocation. So before betting big on sports tourism, we need to address the basics: infrastructure, healthcare, security, and education. And without this, the foundation of a thriving tourism sector, sports or otherwise, remains fragile. So while we don't dismiss the potential, we argue that sports tourism shouldn't be viewed as a primary economic driver just yet. Let's strengthen our local systems first, promote low-cost and community-based sports, and build capacity gradually. When when these fundamentals are strong, sports tourism will naturally flow. Will naturally follow, and on Africa's own terms and at the right time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts? Okay, we have a comment here. Okay, noted, Mawa. We have a comment here by Nelly T. So Nelly T says, the condition of our local leagues in every sport determine how we can compete with the traditional tourism environment or enter the tourism sector. Interesting point made. Yeah, it starts at home. That usual phrase, it starts at home. It starts here. If we fix here, we fix our local leagues, whether small or big leagues, whether grassroots sports at school. If we do that, then it can determine if we can be in the tourism sector. Yeah. Good point made there. Thank you, Nelly T. Mawa, yes, you can speak. Please keep it short and straight to the point.
Yeah, well, actually, in brief, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, if there is something wrong going on with the process, it's better to fix it. We have sustainability, we have accountability, we have different solutions to work on in order to make it work. So it's better to work on these problems rather than giving up everything, because this is going to happen in every single situation, like connected to development or improving the situation of African countries. So the best way to do it is to keep trying and fix the problems as much as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mawa. Anyone else in the chat? No. Okay. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. Okay, lastly, guys, anyone want to share their thoughts? Their last concluding thoughts? Okay, there is no one. Okay.